Hello everybody, this is Warlord. Today is going to be Chuck's first day of training as a stuntman. And we're going to use the Ragdoll to help him achieve what we want to happen, which would be to fall from a helicopter. Now for us to be able to see things, he'll just be basically hanging on underneath the helicopter dummy. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. Okay, let's get started. First thing we're going to need is a floor, so let's load our physics-enabled floor. You could use the plane, but I want you to be able to see what we're doing here. So we'll have the floor. Now we need to go down to Vehicle Dummy, double-click, load our helicopter dummy. Now we need to load the Ragdoll Special Hanging. You can download this, of course, free from iCloneRevolution.com. We want to use the hanging version. Now let's work on our helicopter. Now we want to be able to see this helicopter as we're working throughout this tutorial. I'm going to be turning the dummies on and off, so I am going to uncheck Set as a Dummy so we can see the helicopter. We also need to turn this helicopter into a physics object, kinematic, and self-mesh. Now we need to constrain the Ragdoll to the helicopter. Let's go ahead and scale the helicopter up. Click our Ragdoll. And we need to find the head. Now alternate shift R. Alternate shift R opens the rigid body constraint settings. The head right now you will see is constrained to the world. We want to hit pick target and constrain it to the helicopter dummy. Right now we'll leave the threshold as infinite, but we're going to come back later and set this threshold so the dummy will break loose from the helicopter. But that's all we need for right now. Now that we have the Ragdoll constrained to the helicopter, we really don't need the dummy anymore because we're not going to be moving it around or anything, and it will actually just freeze in place and probably be distracting. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. That would be the Ragdoll dummy, and before we can move any further, we really need to detach everything from that Ragdoll, which is actually the podium. Now we can delete it, and as you can see, we're constrained to the helicopter right now with his legs resting on the floor. Now we need to move it up, so let's select the helicopter dummy and all the parts of the Ragdoll, and let's move it up. Okay. Now, let's see if our rig's working by moving the helicopter dummy forward with its built-in motion. I'd say it's working. Okay, we'll back up. We know it's working. Now what we want him to do is fall off of here. We can just make it where he will fall, but I'll show you how to knock him off. So we're going to check out his path to see where to set a kinematic block to knock him off of this helicopter. And I'm going to say we'll knock him off right about there. So let's go to Set. And let's go up to our 3D blocks. And let's grab box 01, box 01. Let's bring it up. Make sure we're where he's going to collide with it. And this is the easiest way to do that. Reduce it. Now, everything you do here will affect the simulation in one way or another. But we know he'll hit it if we leave it right there. Activate the physics. Kinematic, we'll leave it a box. Now let's see what happens. Now the box is going to move up, hit him, and he goes over the top of it because he's constrained to it. So now let's go work on that constraint. To work on the constraint, we'll need once again to go to the head of the ragdoll. We'll want our dialog, alternate shift R, and in this case we're going to take infinite and we're going to change it to 1.5. And let's see what happens from there. Okay, as you can see, he interacts with it quite differently. It actually knocks him off of it. Kind of hangs him up there a little bit too, though. So let's see what happens when we leave the block in place. We'll move it up to where the block is up where we need it to be. Right click, remove all animation from the block, go back, and instead of it being a moving impact object, we'll see what happens when he hits it straight on, if there's any difference at all. Okay, that looks a lot better. That's a whole lot closer to what we're looking for. Now let's go get our new Daredevil Chuck. He doesn't even need special equipment. We'll load him. And let's come in here where we can see. Don't click off of him. Just come in where we can see the ragdoll with him still selected. That would be Chuck still selected. Hit edit motion layer. We don't have to see him to do this. Because just as soon as we click our first target, he's going to pop up there. We're just hooking them up, hand to hand, feet to feet. Okay. Oh, remember, we need to link them. So we want to select them as an avatar, pick parent. Let's go ahead and link to the center block for right now. Okay, he's linked. Let's pull back so we can see what's going on. Turn off the dummies. Let's see what we've done. Now we need to position Chuck's hands. And remember, we're using the ragdoll, so we position the ragdoll, not the character. Now we do have to do some linking, but we don't have to link everything. We'll just link what we need. And the only reason we're linking at all is to keep these arms from being turned inside out by the force of the chopper or the dummy as it moves across. So let's select our hand block, right click, link to, and link it to the upper arm block. Let's do the same thing for the other hand block. Select it, link to the upper arm block. Now there may be better ways of doing this. This was just the first thing I attempted and it worked. It got what I wanted. I certainly encourage experimentation on this. So now we want to select both blocks. And I'm going to move them up. Now we're not going to spend a lot of time positioning them. This is just to show you. Now yeah, that's unnatural there, but just move it forward. You can also position the dummy forward, or the helicopter forward. We're just putting this like this just to give you an idea of what can be done. Now let's move back, turn off our dummies, and have a look. Now like I said, you'll need to spend more time positioning than we did. But there you have that. Okay, there wasn't much to that. He's hitting the block that dummy that we have turned off. Okay, now let's see what happens when he tumbles down on a rock. And in order to do this, let's turn our dummies back on so we can see where this dummy is. And let's go over to the new rock props that they gave us under Fantasy. Now in the beta forum, this is what people were using for their tests. Duchess had a really nice test of Ragdoll performance using this. And remember, being 3D, you always want to know where it's at. Make sure it's underneath him. Because what we want him to do is fall on it. So, I like to use the gizmos for this because it keeps it in the proper axis. It doesn't move it to the side, I should say. Okay, that'll be a good start right there. Now, of course, we have to enable the physics on this. It's going to be frozen, and I am going to use the self mesh. What I should have done was make this static. Ouch. Now let's go in and just add a little water. I used river flow. Clear day sky. Turn off our dummies. And let's see what it looks like. Now there may be some cases where you need to go back and link or use stabilizers to actually get what you're looking for. But you can also use camera angles and other things. This is just a very simplified method. Now let's move this a little back. And since I moved it without being back on frame 1, I don't really want it to move. So I'm going to go remove all the animation from it. Should fall differently since it's going to be in a different spot. Oh boy, that was exciting. Real exciting. Strange things happen with ragdolls. Now that we have the motion we want, let's turn off our simulation. It's very important that we turn it off. And right now we're working on manual animation. That's right, we're going to do keyframe animation. But don't run, we're just going to do a little bit. In fact, I think a lot of animators used to do a lot of this. Let's select Chuck. And for right now, let's just go into the reach target and let's release the hands. Play on down a little, about right there, somewhere in there. Let's go to the pose side. Let's grab the hand, I've got the move tool. I'm just going to move it over. I don't even know where the other hand is. Just move it down, or otherwise it'd be on the rock. Go down a little. Move that up. Over. Now these are just random movements. Move it however you want to move it. Down. Say for that. Back up. You can move the other one if you want to. Down to there. We're certainly going to want this one to start going down. May even want to do that sooner. Okay, let's see what we have now.